Imagine using a standard chord progression, and when arriving at the last chord, you pause for one moment and think of, out of which of these notes can I make the new tonic? And then you decide you want to repeat that thinking process at the end of each verse. This is basically the whole story behind the key changes happening in Hi, this video is part of an analysis series that I dedicate to several Nik Kershaw songs that haven't fit into one of my previous videos yet, but nevertheless are worth having a closer look at.
Time for a closer look.
It starts off in the key of D minor with the melody moving in triads. Then you turn the very last melody note, serving the minor third function of your key, into the major third of the new key. This sudden key change is extra strong because the chord in the last moment of the intro is A minor 7, which has not a single note in common with the first chord of the first verse, D flat major. The only link between those two chords is the last intro melody note that anticipates the estimated tonic D minor. This D minor tonic was actually reached once before. So Nik really conditioned us to expect it here again. But what we eventually get is a totally unrelated D flat major chord that only afterwards, through the very basic chord progression following, will be recognized as the new tonic. It's one of those cases I discussed in the other Nik Kershaw Analysis videos, where it feels odd at the very first instance and only can be excused through more tonal material rapidly following. This time, the change of color is extra strong because, as mentioned before, we go from a minor surrounding with 1 flat to a major key with 5 flats. And the only link is that melody note that belongs to a chord that our brains prepare to hear, then is substituted through some completely different chord.
Now for something completely different.
Nik gives us 4 verse lines to digest this heavy break. Then he abruptly switches into A majors. This is comparably far in terms of accidentals, but there is 2 main explanations why this key change isn't as tough as the one before. First, before the key change, you can hear the main melody going directly to D flat, which was the tonic until now. The melody is continued on this pitch in the new section, only now for the sake of convenience I call it a C sharp, which makes the major third over A major. Second, this A major chord can actually be interpreted in D flat major as its flat 6th scale degree. It's one of these deceptive cadences I talk about so often, and depending on how you listen to it, it might appear to you that in this moment there's something strange going on with the flat 6th degree, while only now you really feel confirmed that you left your D flat major key. I know that when you look up the chords for this song, you will be told that the second chord is supposed to be C sharp minor 7. But honestly, I don't hear that. I really hear an A major chord in first inversion, and the same is true for all the transposed versions of this chord progression throughout the song. There's no problem playing a C sharp minor 7 instead, because this chord has 2 notes in common with the A major chord, C sharp in the bass and E. But judging from what I can hear in the recording, I personally would always play an A major chord in first inversion. It's almost a surprise that at the end of this 4-line verse, we get an ordinary cadence and the song continues in the same key. A major is kept through another round, including the repetition of the intro melody, before finally the interlude continues in F major. The relation to this new key is the same as in the beginning between intro and first verse. We expect the melody to reach an A in an F sharp minor chord, which replaces A major as the local tonic, being its relative minor key. F major, however, probably would be a little high even for Nik's voice, so the second verse comes back to D flat major. This key change can be described in the same way as the change from D flat major to A major in the verse structure, which is about to re-happen. D flat major can be heard as F major's flat 6th scale degree for a moment, before it is established as a new tonic. So to sum it up, we have two kinds of very wide key changes in White Boy that both are strongly disturbing in their own way. One where the last melody makes the anticipation for the minor third of a chord that is to be substituted through that chord to which the melody note is the major third. And one where the flat 6th scale degree of the up until now key is established as the new tonic simply through repeating the main chord structure from this new starting point. If viewed from a global perspective, it's also nice to see that with every key change Nik modulates down a major third, which makes him go in circles from the third change onwards. So that was it already for today again. Stay tuned for the next video when I will show on two less known songs how Nik plays around with the expectations of us listeners.